Hello, everyone. I feel like it's been forever.
I know, I agree. It's 6:30. So, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Amy Bova.
Here.
Lynn Underwood Segley.
Here.
Catherine E. Leonard.
Here.
Catherine E. Leonard. Angela McCalla.
Here.
Here.
Justin S. McLaughlin.
Here.
Jean Marie Napolitano. Susan D. Taylor.
Jean is coming. She's couldn't find. She didn't get the link. She said for the meeting. So
There's a quorum present, Madam Chair.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
With liberty and justice for all.
So first we have the Citizens Forum, and if there is anyone on the call who would like to speak at the Citizens Forum, you may speak for 3 minutes regarding any item that is not on the docket. And to do so, please either click the raise hand button in the Zoom application or press *9 if you are on the phone.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
See Amanda Gallagher.
Amanda, if you can unmute yourself, can you please identify yourself with your full name and address for the record?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, Newport City Council. My name is Amanda Gallagher. I'm the owner of Closet Revival. And really quickly, I was wondering if I could just read a letter that was addressed to you in the planning board.
Please go ahead.
I'm writing to see if the city's would be open to either full or partial Broadway traffic closure from Marlborough Street to Farewell on the weekend day of Sunday, especially rerouting vehicles and allowing for an open air pedestrian market. There are great examples of similar initiatives throughout the state, like the one in East Greenwich. Benefits would include drawing an increase in pedestrian traffic with proper social distancing and a removal of motor vehicle dangers. It would allow for retail and restaurants that haven't enjoyed the outdoor seating to increase their smaller capacities. It has been a very difficult year for all retailers, but retailers have suffered from the restrictions. An increase in customer traffic would provide some welcome relief and showcase the governor's Take It Outside plan. Newport has embraced the community aspects of Broadway with the hugely successful street fair. I would think a chance to create an open air market feel for the area would be great for all. Thank you for your consideration. And it's signed the businesses of the lower Broadway merchants. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. This is definitely something that we can consider. And I would ask you if you could email that letter to the council and the city manager and city clerk as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. And we, after this meeting, we can speak further with the city manager about it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at the Citizens Forum?
I don't see anyone, Madam Chair.
Okay, we can move on then.
The consent calendar?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the consent calendar in its entirety.
Madam Chair,
There's a motion and a second. Councilor McLaughlin?
I want to pull the minutes for, I got to find the right meeting here. Well, let's just pull both the minutes for a second. I have to find a change that I want to make to them.
Okay, we can vote on those separately.
Good.
Does anyone else on the council want to consider an item on the consent calendar separately?
Yeah, it's just the minutes for September 9th.
Okay, so then there is a motion and a second, and I will do the roll call vote to approve the consent calendar with the exception of item 1A. Councilor Segley? Councilor Leonard?
Aye.
Councilor McCalla?
Aye.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Aye.
Councilor Napolitano?
Aye.
Councilor, I feel like Councilor Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Bova, aye. Sorry, Councilor Napolitano, I just got confused because your name is Segley and it totally threw me off. So all the ayes have it, the motion passes.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the item 1A, the minutes of the council meeting held August 26th and held September 16th.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to approve. Is there discussion?
Madam Chair, I guess I'm supposed
Councilor.
to raise my hand. In the minutes for September 16th, in item number 4, which was a resolution, traffic calming solutions, the minutes reflect that the vote was 5-2, with Councilor McCalla and myself opposing the vote. The vote was actually unanimous, and the minutes should be changed to reflect that.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, did you get that? You were muted, so I didn't actually.
Sorry. Yes, item number 4. Is
Thank
that
you.
correct, Councilor McLaughlin?
Item 4 was, is that, yeah.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay. Thank you. So we'll have that be changed before it goes into.
Unless Angela thinks she voted against it, but I don't think.
Okay, there is a motion and a second to approve, and the amendment as noted by Councilor McLaughlin will be noted by the clerk. I will hold the roll call vote. Councilor Segley?
Aye.
Councilor Leonard?
Aye.
Councilor McCalla?
Aye.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Aye.
Councilor Napolitano?
Aye.
Councilor Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Bova? Aye. The motion passes.
2020 Annual Entertainment License Renewal Class A Indoors Plum Inc., DBA Brick Alley Pub, 140 to 142 Thames Street.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve this application for a renewal entertainment license.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to approve. Is there any discussion on the council? Is there anyone from the public who would like to be heard? Hearing none, I will hold the roll call vote. Councilor Segley?
Aye.
Councilor Leonard?
Aye.
Councilor McCalla?
Aye.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Aye.
Councilor Napolitano?
Aye.
Counselor Taylor,
Aye.
Mayor Bova, aye. The motion passes.
A public hearing on an entertainment license expansion, Class A indoors, Kinsley's Limited, DBA Newport Blues Cafe.
I am going to be recusing myself.
Excuse me.
Thank you, Counselor Segley. This item, I believe, we had a communication from the attorney representing the Newport Blues Cafe requesting that this be pulled because they are no longer requesting the expansion. Is that correct, Counselor Bean?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so I move that we table this item.
Madam Chair, just two things. I would suggest that we vote to receive the correspondence from Mr. Lees, and that also, rather than tabling it, that we vote to continue it to an indefinite date, which is effectively kills it. That's the appropriate motion.
Is that the correct way of rescinding the application, Mr. Bean?
I mean, that's one of the ways you can do it. I mean, you should receive the communication, and otherwise the matter is, they're asking for it to be withdrawn, but I'm okay with what Councilor McLaughlin has suggested.
I just want to point out that to table something merely means to put it off to be considered later in this meeting. We're basically saying we're not going to take it up again. I believe that's what we're doing.
Yes, I understand. I just wanted to have the solicitor confirm.
Madam Chair, I'm going to move that we receive the communication, period, for the moment.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to receive the communication from the attorney representing the Newport Blues Cafe. Is there discussion on the receipt of the communication?
Madam Chair,
Councilor Napolitano.
I believe there were some questions by the petitioner in his letter, and I'm just hoping that the city clarifies what he is asking.
I agree, Councilor Napolitano, because in the communication from the attorney, many of the same questions that were asked by the council at the previous meeting when we considered this were brought up in terms of seeking clarity on the ordinances regarding the requirement of doors and windows to be closed. So I agree that we hopefully the city solicitor can give us that clarity somewhat soon. I mean, it's winter soon, so still it would be nice to have. Is there any further discussion on the communication?
Madam Chair, where's my hand? Here's my hand.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Yeah, when there's a long history about entertainment licenses. I was wrong at the last meeting in thinking that it was in the ordinance, but I think there was enough confusion on the part of even members in the council that many of us probably think, well, it was in the ordinance. And so that's a problem that needs to be fixed. And I think that this is going to be a policy matter that the council needs to decide what is it you want to do. And it's not just a matter of going and getting some answers for Mr. Lees from the solicitor. I think we're going to need a more substantive consideration of the various alternatives with regard to leaving windows and doors open, because there are lots of people that have such licenses, and we need to be careful. Don't start a process without knowing what all of the ramifications will be. So I would just suggest as we move forward, there are dark, rainy days coming up, but by next spring, it would be good if we had a clear ordinance that made clear what people were expected to do. I can remember a business on Broadway that was cited for a noise violation because they put a little speaker in their doorway and played Christmas carols. I think there's an opportunity to revisit some of those issues and clarify the ordinance as it currently reads. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McLaughlin. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I thought that my motion to receive it was that we would vote to receive it and then we would begin discussing what to do with the application. But since we're now discussing what to do with the application. I'll just say, it seemed clear to me that Mr. Lees was interested in withdrawing the application and getting an opinion from Mr. Bean. And I believe that that's where we should leave it for now. And I look forward to hearing what the solicitor has to say.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. And I do think that's the path that we're going on. It just, I think that various councillors are expressing different, well, not necessarily even differing, but various opinions on how that path might go. Councillor Napolitano.
Yes, Madam Chair, I just wanted to point out that we're in a very unique situation. And I really want to take into account what COVID has done to some of the businesses and have them really take a look at this. My understanding is there's several places around town that do have their windows and doors open or did. So I would like to hear further from the solicitor on this in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Napolitano. I do agree, there seems to be somewhat of a mixed bag in terms of who is and is not allowed to have their windows and doors open. Mr. Bean?
I will follow up and attempt to address those issues with the council shortly.
Thank you very much. Is there further discussion on the council? Hearing none, I will hold the roll call vote. Councillor Leonard?
Aye.
Councillor McCalla?
Aye.
Councillor McLaughlin?
Aye.
Councillor Napolitano?
Aye.
Councillor Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Bova? Aye. The motion passes. I move that we continue this application indefinitely.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the council? Hearing none, will hold the roll call vote. Councillor Leonard?
Aye.
Councillor McCalla?
Aye.
Councillor McLaughlin?
Aye.
Councillor Napolitano?
Aye.
Councillor Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Bova? Aye. The motion passes.
Appointments to boards and commissions.
I move the appointment of Ingrid Peters, or the reappointment of Ingrid Peters to the Historic Cemetery Advisory Commission for a 3-year term expiring October 26th, 2023.
Second.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. As I'm reading this, I can hear Councillor McLaughlin in my head talking about cleaning up these end dates, and I don't disagree, Councillor McLaughlin. I've actually had Ms. Creighton in the mayor's office doing some digging on all the various boards and commissions and where we need to clean up and clarify both the records and the various dates. So don't worry, you've been heard, and I do agree, and it's in the works.
Madam Chair, I'm going to raise my hand.
Councillor
Just
McLaughlin.
Thank you for that. I would also, while you're doing that, it's kind of interesting for boards like planning, HDC, or zoning board of review. I think they have longer terms than 3 years, but I rather suspect we could let the Historic Cemetery Advisory Commission have longer terms. And that's another thing, looking at all your boards and commissions to make sure that the terms that you appoint people to actually make sense. It's a great winter project.
Thank you.
For $200 an hour, I'll be happy to come back and help you.
We'll consider it. Is there any further discussion on the council?
Anyway, thank you.
Hearing none, I will hold the roll call vote. Councillor Segley?
Aye.
Councillor Leonard?
Aye.
Councillor McCalla?
Aye.
Councillor McLaughlin?
Aye.
Councillor Napolitano?
Aye.
Councillor Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Bova? Aye. The motion passes. I move that we remove the item appointing or nominating the Waterfront Commission appointments because there has been as previously stated, some mix-ups in the applications, and we are holding actually additional interviews. So I move to rescind that item from the docket.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I'll hold the roll call vote. Counselor Segley?
Aye.
Counselor Leonard?
Aye.
Counselor McCalla?
Aye.
Counselor McLaughlin?
Aye.
Counselor Napolitano?
Aye.
Counselor Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Bova, the item passes. I move the appointment of Elliot Caldwell to the Historic Cemetery Advisory Commission for a 3-year term expiring October 14th, 2023.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the
Second.
council? Hearing none, I will hold the roll call vote. Counselor Segley?
Aye.
Counselor Leonard?
Aye.
Counselor McCalla?
Aye.
Counselor McLaughlin?
Aye.
Counselor Napolitano?
Aye.
Counselor Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Bova, aye. The motion passes.
A resolution honoring those who helped celebrate the Rogers High School senior class of 2020 who were impacted due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
This is a resolution that was introduced by Counselor Napolitano, so I give the floor to Counselor Napolitano for its introduction.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I'd like to read the resolution because it's short, but it really is heartfelt, I think, from the community. Whereas coronavirus has affected the normal activities and celebrations in our everyday lives without regard to age, sex, ethnicity, or station in life. And whereas in March, the Governor Bramando, through executive order, closed educational facilities in the state of Rhode Island for an indeterminate amount of time. And whereas Rogers High School seniors were deprived of celebrating their achievements and activities normally associated with this milestone of graduation, such as proms, senior week, academic and achievement recognition by family, friends, peers, and the community. And whereas teachers and parents banded together to bring this acknowledgement to our community through a prominent display of banners on Broadway with individual pictures of all graduates of Rogers High School receiving local praise and statewide recognition. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the City Council of Newport expresses its gratitude and appreciation to the following parents: Tom Milburn, Karen Palmer, Kathy Radcliffe, Karen Whitaker, Sabrina Mello, Karen Straka, Jen Carter, the photographer, Katie Dugan, fundraiser organizer, and our Public Services Department for making this memorable experience for our students. I move passage.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to pass. Is there discussion on the council? I do want to say thank you to Councilor Napolitano for introducing this resolution. I think it's very apt and it's a wonderful thought to be celebrating not just the students who obviously, you know, they were denied so much in their graduating year, but also all of the community members that came together to really make that happen. It was a really special moment to drive down Broadway and see all those photos as we came by. I think it is something everyone really enjoyed, and a lot of us recognize as something we want to have occur every year. They might have created a monster, but it was a wonderful thing to have happen, and I'm really glad we're able to properly thank the community members that made it happen. Councilor Leonard?
No,
I
that's,
just want to reiterate that. Thank you to all the people who really helped. I think this is an example of people in Newport working together, and parents and people coming together to celebrate with the kids who were really kind of gypped, to say the least, out of their graduation. So again, for all those who helped make this happen, that's why we're here, and that's why people live in this community. And it takes a village, like they say, to make nice things happen.
Thank you, Councillor Leonard. Councillor Segley?
Yes, I just want to just confirm that it was the city workers that put up the banners. Is that correct, Mr. City Manager? Yes, the city workers. So I want to thank the city for being so responsive to the parents and to the needs of the community at that time when there should have been plenty of celebration. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Segley. That's a great note. Is there further discussion, Councillor McLaughlin?
I just have a question. Are we going to give those banners to the individual students when they take them down?
Mhm.
'Cause I'm sure that's planned, but that would be a great thing to do.
Councillor Napolitano?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I was a little hesitant when I first heard about the extent of the project. However, I was really, really pleased and surprised. As soon as I mentioned it to the Public Works Director, he said, wow, I think that's a great idea. So it was the community coming together and honoring our students for time that they'll remember for the rest of their lives. And yes, the students will be receiving all their banners.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the council? Hearing none, I'll hold the roll call vote for this item. Councillor Segley?
Aye.
Councillor Leonard?
Aye.
Councillor McAllen?
Aye.
Councillor McLaughlin?
Aye.
Councillor Napolitano?
Aye.
Councillor Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Bova? Aye. The motion passes. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
A resolution requesting to designate Prospect Hill Street a weight restricted street from Spring Street to Bellevue Avenue.
Thank you. This is a resolution introduced by Councillor Taylor, so I will give her the floor to introduce it.
Thank you. I'm going to read selected paragraphs from this. Whereas commercial trucks and buses over 5,500 pounds use residential streets as shortcuts in order to bypass major arteries. And whereas vehicles of this size and weight cause damage to roads, sidewalks, signage, and personal property, as well as causing pollution from exhaust and increased noise pollution. Whereas Prospect Hill Street from Spring Street to Bellevue is commonly used by commercial trucks and buses over 5,500 pounds as a through street, causing traffic issues and damage to the street and to the aforesaid city sidewalks and signage and the property of the residents. We are resolving that the council requests the city administration to review section 10.52.010 entitled No Through Streets Listed, Signs Required, and offer an amendment to that ordinance designating Prospect Hill Street as one of those streets from Spring Street to Bellevue Avenue.
Did you move passage?
I move passage. Thank you.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Councillor McLaughlin?
Thank you. What I have to say will come as no surprise to Councillor Taylor, because I have shared with her my reaction to this, and that is when you change the designation on one street in a small part of the city, you're very likely to just drive the problem to the next street over. And when you look at the streets between, I'm going to box them by Bellevue on the east, Spring Street on the west, Toro on the north, and Memorial on the south, this will be the only street that is so specifically designated as not being a through street. So I have to wonder, might it be a better thing to just look at that whole district? Because none of the streets in that district should be a through street. The only trucks on those streets should be ones delivering things to the people that live on those streets. So my concern is if you designate one street, you'll just push the traffic over to another street. So I would suggest to Councilor Taylor that she consider amending her resolution to look at that district as a whole and to consider making them all not through streets, because there's no reason why trucks and buses should be on whether it's Pelham Mill, Church Mary, Prospect Hill, Franklin John, the east-west streets, or any of the north-south streets. They just don't belong there. So I'm concerned that it's like 24-hour sticker parking. You do it on one street and then the next street wants it. You've got to really look at the broader impact that you have by changing the designation on one street. So I leave it to Councilor Taylor to change a resolution if she would so consider.
May I respond to Councilor McLaughlin first?
Thank you, Councilor McLaughlin. Yes, please go ahead, Councilor Taylor.
Thank you, and I appreciate my colleague's suggestion with this. I think that it's well worth considering. However, sometimes for some streets, relief is needed now. It was over a year ago that I sponsored the resolution for the master transportation plan, and that has been moving forward. Bids on that project are now being considered. So we're hoping for news on that soon. And I would expect that the study, which is part of the master transportation plan, would be taking a look at all of those streets on Historic Hill and making determinations about what would be appropriate. But the residents on Prospect Hill Street, I think many councilors know, they have felt the pressure acutely. It's an extremely narrow street, and it does seem to have a lot of traffic. It's very close to Memorial. And I put this forward in this fashion because I'm confident that we'll be taking a comprehensive look at all of those streets with the master transportation plan in the coming year. And I am choosing not to amend my own resolution at this time. I certainly have no objection if someone else decides to offer an amendment, but I'm choosing not to.
Thank you, Councilor Taylor. I would like to actually just, before conversation continues, I would like to ask the city manager if there is any update on the status of the master transportation plan, because I did have some similar thoughts to Councilor McLaughlin of just concerns that we keep proposing individual changes. I think we all recognize that many of our roads and streets need some type of change or at least solid study, which is why Councilor Taylor introduced the master transportation plan and has done that work. But it did raise a question mark in my mind about the overall effects and all of that. So Mr. City Manager, could you provide any comment or update on the status of the transportation master plan?
I'll have to get back to you as to where it's in the queue. I don't see the Trish Reynolds on the phone. She could probably give you a better line on that, and that's who I would go to get the more recent information. So I'll have to provide it to the council tomorrow morning, if they don't mind, or sometime during the day, once I speak with Trish as to where we are in the queue on this.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Leonard.
Prospect Hill is in my street. Forever, I know that cars have had to park on the sidewalk, and I understand this. And I just think that we really need to move forward with the bigger plan, including this street, and trying to resolve some of these traffic issues. But again, I bring up the fact that if we have no enforcement, we can make all the changes we want, and the behavior won't change. So I support this for Prospect Hill, of course, and I think other streets are in the same predicament. I think Councilor McLaughlin is correct. You know, it's part of a bigger picture, and a lot of traffic this year and a lot of people impacted by it. So I think that's how we have to move forward.
Thank you, Councilor Leonard. Counselor Napolitano?
Yes, I've heard complaints in the past, particularly in regard to Prospect Hill Street. While I would agree it probably would be a good idea to look at the others, sometimes you have to take the baby steps first. And I really think that they're in special need. It's particularly hazard on that street. I've had complaints from people about their sidewalk or their homes with these larger vehicles. So I am going to support this, but I do like the idea of looking at the other streets and getting more information from the transportation study.
Thank you, Counselor Napolitano. Counselor McCalla?
Hi. Okay, so I think like I actually kind of agree with what Counselor McLaughlin is saying in terms of we need to be able to study the impact on how we may be solving one problem, but then maybe causing other problems. And I remember, I mean, like we've done pretty much a lot of resolutions at this point for traffic calming measures and trying to understand for neighborhoods. And even in specifically with my resolution, I mean, you know, the recommendation was that we kick it over to our engineers for further study and do all of that stuff. So I'm not really sure like why we wouldn't necessarily do the same in terms of creating more of a further study, like for our traffic engineers to kind of look further into.
Thank you, Counselor McCalla. Do we have anyone from Public Works on the phone? Do we have Bill Riccio? I don't think we do. I mean, I agree. I support it. I lived on Prospect Hill Street, so I do recognize that it's insane that any truck would ever drive up that street without reason to. But I am still concerned with the overall impact that we keep doing these onesie twosies to the traffic changes. Counselor Segley?
Yes, I'm just curious. Are there particular truck companies that are using that street that can be contacted? Because that's what I do on Annandale. When I hear a truck is on Annandale, I call the company. I'm just wondering if that's something that there's a particular company that is using it for no reason except to pass through.
I can raise my hand. I'd like to respond to that.
Counselor Taylor?
Yeah, no, I haven't heard complaints about specific truck companies. Perhaps if it had been that easy, I'm not afraid to call a truck company. I think you know that, Lynn. But I think you need to start with the sign prohibiting the truck before you have any teeth in your complaint to the trucking company. And I do want to say that I think you all know me well enough to know that I'm inclined to take a step back, look at the big picture, and try to address the systemic problem, which is why I was thinking about the master transportation plan a year ago. But sometimes you have to take some actions now while you're waiting for the bigger picture to come into clear focus. And Lynn, I think you were with me on Prospect Hill Street perhaps 3 years ago when we were looking at the situation where the cars that are parked on the street are opening their car doors into people's clapboard houses, the colonial houses with clapboard siding. And it's frustrated me that for 3 years we haven't been able to come up with something that would work for those neighbors. And I think a sign saying trucks over 5,500 pounds are not allowed to use this as a through street is a minimal first step that we can take without ripping the fabric of the neighborhood.
Thank you, Counselor Taylor. Counselor McLaughlin?
Thank you. I just have a question for the city manager. It's like I'm forgetting the process, but does a recommendation like this need to go to the ITC for consideration? Is that not the process we've used in the past?
No, no, not necessarily. I mean, you have used it intermittently in the past like this, but not necessarily. You gotta remember the ITC is a staff conglomeration of individuals that we pulled together to try of experts to help us on traffic matters. Doesn't necessarily mean it needs to go to the ITC. There is an application process for citizens to apply for in terms of getting it from the ITC, so we can start at the ground level on matters relating to traffic. But the answer is no. The last recollection I have on this is we did something on Bellevue Avenue with regard to trucks, and that was a direct action of the council.
Very well, thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion on this item? Hearing Councilor McCall.
Sorry, Joe, this question is for you. I'm actually kind of like confused because when I had proposed for Melbourne to be looked at, I mean, Bill Riccio literally told me to tell my residents to go back and fill out a form for stop signs on Melbourne. So now you're saying that's not the case?
This is a little different. This is direct council action. If citizens want to make wholesale changes with regard to traffic issues, then our recommendation is that they indeed go to the ITC, because otherwise these wholesale changes, the council's simply going to turn around and said, we need some more professional advice. This is simply, by the way, Malbone Road does have a no through truck sign on it in any event, but this is a direct council act. You guys are the policymakers. This is a simple mandate in many respects. I share the issues of pushing things to other streets, but again, I note that we, on a major thoroughfare, and I think it was within the last 6 months, the council acted to prohibit on a portion of Bellevue Avenue a large truck traffic. So the ITC is our figment, is our professional staff making recommendations so that so at least there is some background when we need background and some good advice and some good vetting on issues like this. This is a simple one. So this is not a whole scale or a widespread suggestion by residents as to what they want, and that we've got to look at the various safety regulations and traffic flow and things like this. This is an easy one that we deal with all the time. And again, as I said, it's direct council involvement.
I have to say, that seems like somewhat of it does seem like a contradiction, just even in how you just explained it. In some of the discussion we've been having tonight, we have discussed the potential effects of prohibiting trucks, etc. And I recognize there's different levels, but I think that this might be something that needs better clarification in terms of going forward in the council rules or something where there's a level that requires going to the ITC versus direct council action and having that be much more clear, because I think that depending on how you want to interpret it, this could be a large action or a small action. I think it really is up to interpretation, and so I think that is something that going forward we need to clarify.
You are the policymakers. What you do is if whatever mandate you make, whatever resolution you pass, the staff will carry out your mandates. If you want the ITC to look at something like this, that's fine. You want simply Bill Riccio and a couple of traffic engineers to look at it, that's fine. Whatever the council wishes. I don't mean to impose one way or the other. I'm not arguing one way or the other.
I recognize that. I recognize that. I just think I was talking for the council internal to how we make these decisions. The fact that we have the ITC and we ought to rely on the ITC for their knowledge and interpretations at times. We ought to have that line in the sand of, you know, at a certain level of scale that, you know, we ought to say we want it to go to the ITC. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you. I've been wanting to explain why I put this in as I did. My understanding is this is in the ordinances, that the council passes an ordinance defining which streets will prohibit the vehicles over 5,500 pounds. So that's an ordinance. That's something that council would pass, obviously. Whereas like putting up a stop sign or traffic calming measures, the speed bumps, that's not something that we do by ordinance. We don't say there shall be, please correct me if I've got it wrong, Mr. Bean, but we do define by ordinance which streets will be prohibited for that weight of vehicle, but we don't define by ordinance where stop signs should be or where traffic calming measures should be.
Mhm.
That's how I saw the distinction.
Yeah.
Thank
we
you,
do.
Councillor Taylor.
If that was a question for me, Solicitor Bean, we do in the ordinances. However, I believe what you're saying is that in that particular ordinance dealing with no through streets, it does use the term council in there. But the council does pass other traffic control items at times, parking violations, parking restrictions and so forth. But some of it is done by staff also. So it's a combination. So I say you're half right, half correct on that.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Councillor McCalla. I know you know where the raise hand button is, by the way.
Councillor Taylor, I just want to be clear that I will not stand in the way and I will fully support this resolution. I just want to say the optics of it for Melbourne Road and, you know, my resolution that got, you know, watered down, amended, all of that stuff from the council, all the way to, you know, city staff or whatever. Like the optics of this, I'm still not clear on how this just makes it okay. But I mean, again, I will not stand in your way, but the optics of this just seems highly irregular.
Thank you, Councillor McCalla. I will hold the roll call vote on this item. Councillor Segley?
Aye.
Councillor Leonard?
Aye.
Councillor McCalla?
Aye.
Councillor McLaughlin?
Aye.
Councillor Napolitano?
Aye.
Councillor Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Bova? Aye. The motion passes.
Communication from Turner Scott.
I am going to ask the city solicitor for an update on this item. I meant the city manager. Sorry.
I've had a number of conversations with staff as well as Mr. Scott on this item, and we each independently have been out to the site a few times, and we're still trying to resolve it. There's some engineering issues that need to be reviewed in terms of one of the resolutions that we came up with, and I'm waiting for some information from Mr. Scott on that. I spoke to Mr. Scott yesterday, and I spoke with him today. And so the sense is the agreement that we have is that we would not clutter up the council's docket on this matter. So at some time, if we can't reach the appropriate resolution, we'll bring this appeal back to the council. So I think I'll take a page out of Justin's book and ask that you continue it indefinitely without prejudice
Yeah.
to the appellant. And if we can't get a resolution, I will initiate this matter back onto the docket and indicate to you that there needs to be a hearing on this, because ultimately there'll need to be some type of hearing on that, in which I think, as much as I hate to say it, some evidence needs to be presented from both sides, and the council will need to make a decision based upon certain standards. But right now, we're not ready to proceed with that hearing, and we're really working towards what I'm hoping for is a simple resolution on this.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. So with that being said, I move that we continue this item indefinitely
Second.
Without prejudice to the appellant.
without prejudice to the appellant. Thank you. There was a motion and a second. I will hold the roll call vote. Councillor Segley.
Aye.
Councillor Leonard.
Aye.
Councillor McCalla.
Aye.
Councillor McLaughlin.
Aye.
Councillor Napolitano.
Aye.
Councillor Taylor.
Aye.
Mayor Bova. Aye. The motion passes.
Action number 5945.
Madam Chair, it gives me pleasure to move that the council approve the transfer of $28,000 from council contingency for the student assistance counselor.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to approve this item. This is a transfer of $28,000, and it covers the student assistant counselor, as Councillor Taylor stated. And this was introduced by the Newport Prevention Coalition at our last meeting, or perhaps the one prior, asking that asking the city council to fund that position if possible. And I'm glad that the staff was able to find that funding, because it is a very important position. Is there discussion on the item? Okay, then I will hold the roll call vote. Councillor Segley.
Aye.
Councillor Leonard.
Aye.
Councillor McCalla.
Aye.
Councillor McLaughlin.
Aye.
Councillor Napolitano.
Aye.
Councillor Taylor.
Aye.
Mayor Bova. Aye. The motion passes.
COVID-19 status update.
I will give the floor to the city manager to discuss the update on COVID-19.
Yes, Madam Chair. I will be brief. I don't know if any of you listened to the governor's press conference today, but she and the Rhode Island Department of Health are concerned about an upward trend of COVID cases in the state of Rhode Island. The hospitalizations today were reported as 131. Of note, this is a jump from Saturday's hospitalizations, which was reported as 106, which was up from the weekly average, prior weekly average of 67. Newport cases, we have 8 new cases for a running total of 192. 7 of those cases are in the 02840 zip code. One of those cases is in the 02841 zip code area, but it's considered Newport. That's the Navy base. The governor announced today that some form of new regulations or restrictions will be put in place as a result of this movement upward of cases. She will announce what those new restrictions or regulations are at her press conference tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Of note is that what RIDO and the governor is attributing the upward trend of cases to, and it's small social gatherings in which people let their guard down, don't wear their masks, and don't social distance. I wanted to make as as minor as it would sound, or maybe as silly as it would sound, and it's not silly, but last week, one of you noted, based upon Governor Baker's, some discussions Governor Baker had in Massachusetts about Halloween, urging that there be no parties, no Halloween parties. The governor made a point today at her press conference that if anyone out there, any member of the public that has a Halloween party scheduled, that they ought to cancel it. Again, it's the small social gatherings in which and we all have, maybe are to a certain extent, it's easily understood. You let your guard down, it's the opposite. Familiarity breeds contempt. It's the familiarity breeds intimacy and trust, and you can't trust it. You obviously can't trust the virus. And I can move on to the mask issues and the last two other items. If there's any questions, I can take them now on these issues.
Joe, is there any movement on what the recreation department was going to plan for Halloween?
Yeah, they still have a program in place. Yes, it's been advertised. Yes.
Thank you.
And I would say that the recreation department is on top of all the COVID restrictions and the appropriate protocols.
So for that event that the recreation department is doing at the beach, is there a capacity limit?
It's an outdoor event, so I don't know if there's a capacity limit. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay, I've just had some questions from folks, obviously they want to go. They think it's a safer method
Yes.
than door to door,
Yeah.
but they didn't know if they needed to sign up or if there would be a limit or something.
There is a sign up, but there is no, I don't believe there's a capacity limit. The staff will handle whatever comes.
Okay, thank you.
But I will confirm that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Moving along here, Madam Chair, I wanted to make a point, as I've always had, about our mask volunteers who have done really fantastic work all summer. We've handed out over 12,000 masks. That public effort, as the numbers dissipate and the weather gets cooler, has dissipated or will dissipate. And so we're going to kind of put our heads together and try to figure out how we can be most helpful going forward, because as the governor and Dr. Scott indicated today, we're going into a critical time, and the best thing that we could do is to continue to help out in any small way. And though I think the volunteers helped out in a very large way in handing out those 12,000 plus masks. So we'll figure it out going forward. The last issue that I wanted to mention was the Take It Outside campaign. It's a moving target a little bit, at least in terms of the funds that we will be receiving. We're still we have an application that's going out to all the businesses. We've had, I think at last take, we had 26 businesses sign up for varying needs with regard to the program. And anytime we're still waiting for the grant materials from the Department from Commerce, Rhode Island, as well as we're tweaking the program a little bit, and indeed even tweaked it a little bit today. But I'll be getting together with Trish Reynolds, who's been helping us out on this in the next day or so, to try to figure out, put the finishing touches to everything and get rolling on the program. It's either going to take, it takes two forms really right now, and that's either where we act as the intermediary providing the equipment, and that's the original way it started out, but we're trying to pivot and go with a reimbursement program. And these businesses have already gone out and purchased what they believe they need to get through a little more time, considering the weather. And we would like to, help them offset some of those costs. And we've had those discussions with the businesses, but every time you change things a little bit, you have to go through Commerce and get permission because these funds are federally restricted in terms of use. And that's all I have, Madam Chair and members of the council.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Councilor McLaughlin.
If I could I'm going to weave something in here. Many of us have things on our Facebook pages about the census. Tomorrow is the last day you can fill out the 2020 census. So
Correct.
It gets mysterious, whether it was going to be the end of the month or whatever. But if any of you have things in your Facebook pages telling your people about when to do it, tomorrow is the last day.
Thank you, Councilor McLaughlin. Is there any further discussion on the council?
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to adjourn. I will hold the roll call vote. Councilor Segley?
Aye.
Councilor McCalla?
Aye.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Aye.
Councilor Napolitano? Councilor Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Bova? The aye. The ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.